While everyone's obsessing over the latest Tesla price cuts and arguing about pickup trucks on Twitter, something insane is happening in the SUV market that nobody's talking about. I'm talking about luxury SUVs that used to cost more than a house deposit, now going for the price of a used Camry. We're talking 40, 50, even 60% value drops that dealers are praying you don't notice. And here's the kicker, some of these are barely 3 years old. So, if you've been dreaming about that premium SUV life but thought it was out of reach, well, buckle up because today I'm exposing 5 SUVs that crashed harder than my credit score after college. And trust me, by the end of this video, you'll either be refreshing Auto Trader or questioning every financial decision you've ever made. Let's get into it. All right, number 5 on our list is going to surprise you. Actually, it might even offend some of you. But hear me out, because this is where things get spicy. The Mitsubishi ASX. Now, I can already hear the keyboard warriors typing, Mitsubishi? Really? But before you click away, let me tell you why this unassuming little crossover is secretly the smartest broke person pretending to be rich purchase you can make right now. Here's the situation. When these rolled out between 2020 and 2023, they were pushing anywhere from 25 to 32,000 brand new, depending on the trim. Fast forward to today, and I'm seeing clean examples with under 40,000 miles for literally 12 to 15 grand. That's a 50% nosedive, people. You're getting a barely used SUV for the price of a slightly used Honda Civic. And unlike that Civic, you can actually fit your mother-in-law's luggage without hearing about it for the next 6 months. But why did it crash so hard? Simple. Brand perception. Mitsubishi doesn't have the badge prestige of Toyota or Honda in most Western markets anymore, even though they're building on the same Japanese reliability DNA. It's like the Jan Brady of Japanese automakers, middle child syndrome at its finest. Nobody's making YouTube videos about how their ASX saved their family from a bear attack or survived the apocalypse, so people just forget it exists. And that's exactly what makes this opportunity golden. Let's talk about what you're actually getting. The ASX comes with a bulletproof 2.0 or 2.4-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine. No turbo nonsense to grenade at 80,000 miles. No dual-clutch transmission that shudders like it's having an existential crisis. Just good old-fashioned port injection reliability. We're talking about an engine architecture that Mitsubishi has been refining since before some of you were born. These motors regularly push past 200,000 miles with nothing more than oil changes and the occasional "please stop ignoring the check engine light" prayer. The CVT transmission gets a bad rap across the industry. And yes, some CVTs are absolutely garbage, but Mitsubishi's unit, co-developed with Jatco, has been surprisingly solid in the ASX. Sure, it's not going to give you the engagement of a manual or the smoothness of a ZF 8-speed, but it's not exploding either. And let's be honest, if you're buying an ASX, you're not drag racing it. You're hauling groceries, picking up the kids, and maybe sneaking off to Costco on a Saturday. For that life, it's perfectly adequate. Kind of like my dating history, but more reliable. Interior-wise, you're getting something that punches above its depreciated weight. Depending on the year and trim, you're looking at a decent infotainment system with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, heated seats, a panoramic sunroof on higher trims, and actually respectable build quality. It's not German luxury, but the plastics don't feel like they were sourced from the dollar store either. Everything has a nice tactile feel. Buttons actually click instead of mushily disappointing you, and the overall ergonomics make sense. Revolutionary? No. Functional and pleasant? Absolutely. Here's where it gets interesting for the practical folks watching. Fuel economy sits around 25 to 30 miles per gallon combined, which means you're not hemorrhaging money every time gas prices decide to cosplay as a mortgage payment. All-wheel drive is available on most trims, giving you actual winter capability if you live somewhere that gets real weather. And the cargo space? With the rear seats up, you've got about 20 cubic feet. Fold them down, and you're looking at nearly 50. That's enough room for an IKEA run without having to Tetris your life into submission. Maintenance costs are shockingly low. Parts are cheap because Mitsubishi shares components across their lineup, and any mechanic who can work on a Japanese car can work on this. You're not dealing with proprietary tools or dealer-only diagnostics.
And because nobody's buying these new anymore, dealers are practically giving away service specials just to see a Mitsubishi in their lot. The real genius move here is understanding depreciation psychology. This SUV already took its biggest hit. Someone else paid 30 grand, drove it for 3 years, and lost half their money. You're buying at the bottom of the curve, which means your $16,000 ASX might only be worth 13 grand in 3 years. That's 3,000 in depreciation versus the 15,000 the original owner ate. You're essentially driving a practical, reliable SUV for $100 a month in depreciation. Show me another vehicle that offers that value proposition. So, who is this for? Honestly, anyone with more financial sense than ego. First-time buyers who need something reliable without the new car debt trap, young families who need space and safety but not the Instagram flex, even savvy enthusiasts who need a practical daily that won't drain the fun car budget. The Mitsubishi ASX is proof that the smartest money move isn't always the coolest one.
Number 4 is going to make Honda fanboys absolutely furious, but the numbers don't lie. We're talking about the Honda Pilot, specifically the 3rd and early 4th generation models from 2016 to 2023. Yeah, the 3-row family hauler that was supposed to hold its value like a Swiss bank account just face-planted harder than a dad at his daughter's wedding after too many champagne toasts. Picture this, a loaded 2019 Pilot Elite stickered at nearly $50,000. That's Lexus money. That's I made partner at the law firm money. Today, that same vehicle with 60,000 miles is selling for 28 to 32 grand. We're looking at a 40% value massacre in just 5 years. The kicker? These things were supposed to be the golden children of resale value. Honda reliability, family-friendly reputation, the whole package. So what the hell happened? 2 words, market saturation. Honda sold these Pilots like they were giving away free health care. Every suburban driveway from coast to coast has one parked next to a golden retriever and a gas grill that gets used twice a year. When everyone has the same thing, scarcity dies, and with it, resale value. Supply and demand did what supply and demand does best, which is ruin someone's equity position. But here's the beautiful part for us vultures circling the used market. Their loss is absolutely our gain. Let's talk about what makes the Pilot worth buying at depreciation bomb prices. Under that conservatively styled hood lives Honda's legendary 3.5-liter V6 engine, pumping out 280 horsepower in the 3rd gen and a very healthy 285 in the newer 4th gen models. This isn't some overworked turbo 4 that's going to need a new engine before your kid graduates high school. This is a naturally aspirated, proven power plant that's been refined over decades. Honda's J35 engine family has been around since the late 90s, and these things run like a Japanese train schedule. Smooth, powerful, and reliable enough that you'll get bored of the vehicle before it gets bored of running. The 9-speed automatic gets mixed reviews, I'll be honest. Early 3rd gen models had some clunky shifting issues that Honda addressed through software updates and mechanical revisions. If you're shopping used, you want a 2019 or later where most of those gremlins got ironed out. The 10-speed in the 4th gen models is butter smooth though, borrowed from Honda's corporate partnership with their transmission wizards. Either way, you're not dealing with CVT Russian roulette, and that alone is worth celebrating. Where the Pilot absolutely dominates is space and practicality. This thing swallows humans like a very polite whale. 8-passenger seating is standard with actual usable 3rd-row space. I'm talking real adults can sit back there for more than 15 minutes without filing a human rights complaint. 2nd-row captain's chairs are available if you want that 7-seat luxury minivan vibe without admitting you bought a minivan. Cargo space behind the 3rd row is tight at 16 cubic feet, but drop those seats and you're staring down nearly 84 cubic feet of yes, I can help you move capacity. That's enough room to transport your entire midlife crisis from Costco. Inside, even the lower trims feel shockingly premium for what you're paying on the used market. Soft touch materials, intuitive controls, and Honda's infotainment system that actually makes sense instead of requiring a computer science degree. Higher trims get you heated and ventilated leather seats, a panoramic sunroof, wireless charging, and a premium audio system that doesn't sound like it's playing music through a tin can. The build quality is typical Honda, meaning everything feels like it'll outlast your mortgage.
Buttons have weight to them, switches click with purpose, and nothing rattles like a possessed maraca going over bumps. Safety features are where Honda went absolutely berserk in a good way. Honda Sensing comes standard on most trims, giving you adaptive cruise control, lane keeping assist, automatic emergency braking, and blind spot monitoring. This is technology that was luxury car only 10 years ago, now standard on a family SUV you can buy for the price of a modest vacation. The Pilot consistently earns top safety ratings from every organization with acronyms, which means your insurance company might actually not hate you for once. Fuel economy sits around 20 to 23 miles per gallon combined, depending on whether you opt for front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. Not spectacular, but this is a 5,000-pound SUV that seats 8 humans. If you wanted Prius numbers, you brought the wrong vehicle and probably the wrong life. All-wheel drive is Honda's intelligent iVTM4 system, which is shockingly capable for something that spends 99% of its life in target parking lots. Light off-roading, snow, mud, gravel roads, it handles it all without drama. Maintenance is where Honda's reputation shines brighter than a freshly waxed show car. Oil changes, brake pads, tires, that's basically your shopping list for the first 100,000 miles. Timing belts don't exist because it's a chain setup. The engine is bulletproof, transmissions are solid if maintained properly, which just means changing the fluid like the manual says, instead of believing the lifetime fluid marketing nonsense. Any mechanic can work on these, parts are everywhere, and because so many were sold, salvage yards are full of cheap backup organs if something weird does break. The resale apocalypse means you can walk into a deal with confidence, knowing you're not the sucker at the poker table. You're buying a vehicle that's already bled out its depreciation while still being young enough to give you years of reliable service. A $30,000 Pilot today might be worth $25,000 in 3 years. That's $5,000 in depreciation for a premium 3-row SUV. Compare that to buying new and watching $20,000 evaporate faster than free beer at a college party. But hold on, because if you think a Honda depreciating is wild, wait until you hear about number 3. This one's a German luxury tank that's now cheaper than a year of coffee from Starbucks.
All right, number 3 is for the adventurers in the audience, the rebels. The people who think modern SUVs have gotten too soft, too computerized, too worried about looking good at the country club instead of actually conquering countries. I'm talking about the Mitsubishi Montero, known as the Pajero in most of the world. And if you're giggling at that name, congratulations, you have the maturity of a 12-year-old. But also, you're my kind of people. Now here's where this gets interesting. The Montero technically stopped being sold new in North America back in 2006, but stay with me because the used market is having an absolute fire sale on these legendary off-road beasts, and the late model 3rd and 4th gen examples from the early 2000s are going for absolutely stupid cheap money. We're talking $7,000 to $12,000 for a vehicle that was north of $35,000 when new. That's over 70% depreciation, which sounds horrifying until you realize you're basically getting a Land Cruiser's capability for Kia Rio money. The beautiful irony here is that while North America abandoned the Montero, the rest of the world kept buying them like hotcakes because they actually understood what made these things special. This is a body-on-frame, 4-wheel drive warrior that was engineered to cross the Sahara Desert, not just cross the Whole Foods parking lot. Mitsubishi literally won the Dakar Rally 12 times with vehicles based on this platform. 12 times. That's not marketing fluff, that's battlefield credentials. This SUV has more desert crossing experience than most people have Zoom meeting experience. Under the hood, you're looking at Mitsubishi's 3.8-liter V6 engine in the later models, churning out a very respectable 215 to 220 horsepower depending on the year. It's not going to win drag races, but that's not the point. This engine was built for torque, durability, and the kind of low-end grunt that pulls you out of situations where your cell phone has no signal and your life choices are being seriously questioned. The earlier 3rd-gen models came with a 3.5-liter V6 that's equally bulletproof. These engines share DNA with Mitsubishi's industrial and marine applications, which is just a fancy way of saying they're overbuilt for whatever abuse you're planning. The transmission is a 5-speed automatic that's about as sophisticated as a hammer, and I mean that as the highest compliment. It's simple, it's tough, and it doesn't need a software engineer to fix it when something goes wrong.
Gear changes aren't lightning fast, but they're deliberate and predictable. This is old-school engineering where mechanical reliability trumps millisecond shift times. You know what's faster than a dual-clutch transmission? Not being stranded on the side of the road waiting for a tow truck that costs more than your monthly rent. Where the Montero becomes absolutely legendary is the Super Select four-wheel drive system. This isn't your typical part-time four-wheel drive where you need to stop, shift, sacrifice a small animal, and pray it engages. You can switch between rear-wheel drive, four-wheel high, and four-wheel low on the fly while driving. There's even a four-wheel high lock mode that basically tells physics to sit down and shut up. The center differential lock, combined with a proper low-range transfer case, means this thing will crawl over obstacles that would make a Jeep Wrangler owner nervous. Rock crawling, deep mud, steep inclines, sand dunes. The Montero just shrugs and asks if that's all you've got. Inside, the Montero is unapologetically utilitarian, but in a charming way that's aged better than most early 2000s interiors. You get real buttons for real functions. The climate control doesn't require scrolling through 17 touchscreen menus. Everything is chunky, durable, and built like it expects to get dirty. Higher trims came with leather seats, a decent sound system, and even some wood trim that somehow doesn't look ridiculous. It's not luxurious by modern standards, but it's comfortable and honest, like sitting in your favorite old recliner versus some over-designed Herman Miller thing that costs more than a used car. Seating is legitimately spacious for 7 passengers, and unlike modern 3-row crossovers where the third row is a punishment cell, the Montero third row can actually accommodate adult humans for extended periods. Cargo space is generous even with all seats up, and folding the rear seats gives you a cargo bay big enough to fit your camping gear, your regrets, and possibly a small livestock animal if the situation demands it. Fuel economy is, let's be honest, terrible by modern standards. You're looking at 15 to 18 miles per gallon combined if you're gentle, and low teens if you're actually using it like it was intended. But here's the thing, if you're buying a body-on-frame V6 SUV from the early 2000s, you've already made peace with the fact that gas stations will become your second home. The trade-off is you get a vehicle that doesn't care about fuel quality, can run on the automotive equivalent of swamp water, and will start in conditions that would make a Tesla spontaneously catch fire. Reliability is where Mitsubishi's reputation quietly dominates. These engines regularly see 300,000 miles with basic maintenance. The four-wheel drive system is mechanically simple and absurdly durable. Yes, you'll need to stay on top of oil changes, differential fluid, and transfer case service, but that's just the cost of owning a real truck-based SUV. The parts are cheap, any competent mechanic can work on them, and there's a cult following of Montero enthusiasts online who've documented every possible fix with YouTube videos and forum posts. The depreciation crash means you're buying at absolute bottom. A $10,000 Montero today will probably still be worth $7,000 or $8,000 in 5 years because it's hit the enthusiast collector floor. These vehicles are becoming modern classics among the overlanding and off-road communities. You're not just buying transportation, you're buying capability that costs 10 times as much if you try to replicate it with a new Bronco or 4Runner.
Number 2 is going to blow your mind because this is the poster child of sensible purchases, the automotive equivalent of eating your vegetables and going to bed at a reasonable hour. I'm talking about the Honda CR-V. And before you roll your eyes and say that's the most boring choice possible, let me hit you with some numbers that'll make your wallet very, very happy. The 5th generation CR-V, specifically models from 2017 to 2022, were flying off dealer lots at $28,000 to $38,000 depending on trim. Honda couldn't keep them in stock. Soccer moms were fighting each other in parking lots for the last EXL on the lot. These were the golden ticket of compact SUVs. Fast forward to right now, and clean examples with 50 to 70,000 miles are sitting at 16 to 22 grand. That's a depreciation bloodbath of nearly 45% in some cases. The same vehicle that was impossible to negotiate on 5 years ago is now begging for a new owner, like a puppy at a shelter.
What caused this freefall? Simple economics mixed with Honda's own success curse. They sold so many of these things that the used market is absolutely flooded. Every college student who got a practical graduation gift, every young family who needed something reliable, every person who Googled most reliable SUV and clicked the first result bought a CR-V. Now they're all hitting the used market simultaneously, like a tsunami of sensible decision-making. But here's where you get to be the smart opportunist picking through the wreckage. Let's talk about why the CR-V has been the default answer to what should I buy for the last 2 decades. Under that aggressively normal exterior lives Honda's turbocharged 1.5-liter 4-cylinder engine, making 190 horsepower. Now I know what you're thinking. Turbocharged Honda? Aren't those supposed to be naturally aspirated reliability machines? Valid concern, but here's the plot twist. Honda's turbo setup is shockingly well engineered and has proven itself over hundreds of thousands of real-world miles. They didn't just slap a snail on the engine and call it innovation. This is a properly developed turbo with conservative boost levels, and if you keep up with oil changes like an actual responsible adult, it'll run forever. We're seeing these motors push past 200,000 miles without major drama, which is exactly what you want when you're buying used. The CVT transmission is where people get nervous, and honestly, I get it. CVTs have a reputation worse than gas station sushi, but Honda's CVT in the CR-V is one of the better implementations in the industry. It's smooth, it's efficient, and while it's not exciting, it's also not self-destructing at 80,000 miles like some competitors we won't name but rhyme with Nissan. Honda actually knows how to build a CVT that doesn't commit suicide, which apparently makes them unicorns in the automotive world. Regular fluid changes keep it happy, and you'll be fine. It's like a pet goldfish, low maintenance, not thrilling, but reliable if you remember it exists. Fuel economy is where the CR-V absolutely murders the competition and your fuel budget in the best way possible. We're talking 28 to 34 miles per gallon combined, depending on whether you go front-wheel or all-wheel drive. That's Prius territory from a practical SUV with actual cargo space. You can road trip across the country on the budget of a weekend grocery run. Gas station attendants will forget what you look like because you'll visit so infrequently. This is efficiency without the compromise of driving something that looks like it was designed by a committee of aerodynamic engineers having a collective breakdown. Inside, the CR-V punches way above its depreciated weight class. Even base LX models come with a 7-inch touchscreen, rear-view camera, and Bluetooth connectivity. Move up to EX or EXL trims and you get Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, a power liftgate, heated seats, and a moonroof. The touring trim, those full luxury with leather, navigation, a hands-free power tailgate, and Honda Sensing safety suite that includes adaptive cruise control, lane keeping assist, and automatic emergency braking. You're getting technology that was cutting-edge luxury 5 years ago for the price of a decent used sedan. Space and practicality are where the CR-V earns its reputation as the Swiss Army knife of SUVs. Cargo capacity sits at 39 cubic feet behind the rear seats and a massive 75 cubic feet with the seats folded. The rear seats slide and recline, which is a shockingly rare feature that makes a huge difference in passenger comfort. The center console is deep enough to hide a small child or several questionable life choices. There are storage cubbies everywhere, like Honda's engineers were playing a game of how many cup holders can we fit before it gets weird. Spoiler alert, they never reached weird. They just reached practical perfection. Build quality is vintage Honda, meaning everything feels like it was assembled by people who actually care about their work instead of robots counting down to their lunch break. Panel gaps are tight, materials feel substantial, and nothing rattles or squeaks even after 100,000 miles of abuse. The doors close with a satisfying thunk that says, yes, I'm a basic choice, but I'm a basic choice that works. It's the automotive equivalent of buying the store brand cereal that tastes exactly the same as the name brand but costs half as much. All-wheel drive in the CR-V is Honda's real-time AWD system, which is perfectly adequate for snow, rain, and light gravel roads. It's not going to conquer the Rubicon Trail, but it'll get you to the ski lodge without embarrassing yourself. The system is seamless and automatic, sending power to the rear wheels when it detects front-wheel slip. You don't think about it, it just works, which is the whole Honda philosophy distilled into one feature. Maintenance costs are laughably low because parts are everywhere, any mechanic in the world can work on a Honda, and the engineering is straightforward enough that even moderately handy owners can tackle basic services. Timing chains instead of belts means one less expensive service interval. Brake pads last forever because the regenerative engine braking does most of the work. Insurance is cheap because these things are safe, not flashy, and statistically driven by people who've never seen a track day in their lives. The depreciation curve has flattened out, meaning your $20,000 CRV today will probably be worth 16 or 17 grand in 3 years. That's 3 grand in depreciation for a vehicle that'll start every single morning, haul everything you need, and never leave you stranded. Compare that to any new vehicle, and the math makes you look like a financial genius without even trying.
And now, the moment you've been waiting for. Number 1. The SUV that's depreciating so hard it's breaking the laws of Toyota physics. I'm talking about the vehicle that was supposed to be the Fort Knox of resale value, the golden child of reliability, the SUV that financial advisors literally recommend as a safe investment. Ladies and gentlemen, the Toyota RAV4 is crashing in price, and it's the automotive equivalent of finding out your straight-A student just failed math. This shouldn't be happening, but it is, and we need to talk about it. Here's the nuclear bombshell. 4th and early 5th generation RAV4s from 2013 to 2021 were selling new for anywhere between $26,000 to $40,000, depending on trim and options. These were the untouchable vehicles. People were paying over MSRP during the pandemic just to get their hands on one. Dealers were treating them like limited edition Ferraris. Today, you can find solid examples with 60 to 80,000 miles for 17 to 25 grand. We're looking at depreciation drops of 35 to 45% on a Toyota. A Toyota, the brand that's supposed to depreciate slower than continental drift, just hit the value iceberg like the Titanic, and nobody's talking about it. So what the hell happened? 2 massive factors collided like asteroids. First, Toyota went absolutely berserk with production numbers. They flooded the market harder than a broken dam because demand was insane. Everyone wanted a RAV4. Your neighbor wanted one, your dentist wanted one, that guy who cut you off in traffic already has 3. The used market is now swimming in RAV4s like a Japanese car dealership had a very productive night. Second factor, the hybrid models absolutely cannibalized the resale value of the gas-only versions. Everyone wants the hybrid for that sweet fuel economy, which means the regular RAV4s are getting dumped faster than New Year's resolutions in February. Their loss, your gain, and the gain is absolutely massive. Let's break down what you're actually getting for this bargain basement pricing. The 4th Gen RAV4 comes with Toyota's legendary 2.5-liter 4-cylinder pushing out 176 horsepower. It's not going to win any stoplight drag races, but that's not why you buy a RAV4. You buy it because this engine is more reliable than gravity. Toyota's been building this motor family for decades, and it's proven itself in millions of vehicles across every continent. This thing runs on regular unleaded, doesn't care about extreme temperatures, and will outlive your career, your mortgage, and possibly your desire to keep driving it. We're talking 300,000 miles with nothing more than oil changes and the occasional, yeah, I should probably rotate the tires moment. The transmission is a 6-speed automatic that's smoother than a jazz radio station at 2 in the morning. No CVT nonsense, no dual clutch drama, just a traditional torque converter automatic that knows how to do its job without calling attention to itself. Shifts are seamless, the programming is smart enough to anticipate what you need, and the reliability is bulletproof. Toyota transmissions are so over-engineered that mechanics get bored working on them because nothing ever breaks. Now, the 5th Gen RAV4 that launched in 2019 brought a refresh with more aggressive styling that people either love or think looks like it's angry about paying taxes. The engine got upgraded to 203 horsepower from the same 2.5-liter platform, and the 8-speed automatic is borrowed from the Lexus parts bin, which means you're getting luxury-grade engineering at Toyota pricing. Both generations are phenomenal, but the 5th gen drives noticeably more refined,
while the 4th gen represents peak depreciation value right now. Interior quality is where Toyota's reputation for boring but brilliant really shines. Everything is laid out logically, like it was designed by engineers who actually drive cars instead of just designing them in a computer lab. Buttons are where your hand expects them, the infotainment system works without requiring a PhD. Climate controls are physical knobs and buttons because Toyota understands that scrolling through touchscreens while driving is how you end up as a cautionary tale. Higher trims get you features like heated seats, power driver's seat, dual-zone climate control, and premium audio that actually sounds premium. The build quality is absolutely bomb-proof. Nothing squeaks, nothing rattles, and the plastics feel substantial instead of flimsy. This is a vehicle that feels new even after 100,000 miles of life. Cargo space is generous at 37 cubic feet behind the rear seats, expanding to nearly 70 cubic feet with the seats folded flat. That's enough room for camping gear, home improvement projects, moving your friend's entire apartment because you're apparently the only person with an SUV, and whatever else life throws at you. The rear seats recline, which is a small touch that makes a huge difference on road trips when your passengers start complaining about comfort after hour 3. All-wheel drive is standard on many trims, and Toyota's system is beautifully uncomplicated. It sends power to the rear wheels when needed, stays out of your way when it's not, and adds genuine capability for snow, rain, and light off-road scenarios. This isn't a rock crawler, but it'll handle fire roads, beach sand, and winter conditions without breaking a sweat. The ground clearance is respectable, and the approach angles mean you're not scraping the bumper on every speed bump like a slammed sports car. Fuel economy sits around 26 to 30 miles per gallon combined, depending on drivetrain configuration, which is excellent for a non-hybrid SUV. You're spending less at the pump while driving something practical and spacious. The hybrid models push that into the mid-30s and low 40s, but those haven't depreciated nearly as much, so you're paying a premium for fuel savings you might never recoup. The math favors buying the gas version at crashed prices and pocketing the difference. Safety features is where Toyota went full paranoid parent mode in the best way possible. Toyota Safety Sense comes standard on most newer models, giving you adaptive cruise control, pre-collision warning with automatic emergency braking, lane departure alert with steering assist, and automatic high beams. The RAV4 consistently scores top marks from every safety organization, which means insurance companies actually treat you like a human being instead of a liability. You're protecting your family while also protecting your wallet from insurance premium nightmares. Maintenance is so cheap it's almost insulting. Oil changes, tire rotations, brake pads every 60,000 miles if you drive like a normal person, and that's basically it for the first 150,000 miles. Toyota dealerships are everywhere, independent mechanics worship at the altar of Toyota reliability, and parts are abundant and affordable. The timing chain means you're not dropping $2,000 on a timing belt service. The engine doesn't have weird quirks or finicky requirements. You maintain it like a responsible adult, and it rewards you by never ever leaving you stranded. The depreciation has already happened, which means you're buying at the floor. A $22,000 RAV4 today will probably be worth $18,000 to $19,000 in 4 years. That's $3,000 in depreciation for a Toyota SUV that'll run forever. Show me another investment that makes that kind of sense. You can't, because it doesn't exist. This is as close to free transportation as you can get, while still actually paying for a vehicle.
So there you have it, 5 SUVs that crashed harder in value than my childhood dreams of becoming an astronaut. But unlike my dreams, these actually represent incredible opportunities. From the underdog Mitsubishi ASX to the Honda Pilot's suburban saturation, from the legendary Montero's off-road dominance to the CR-V's practical perfection, and finally, the shocking Toyota RAV4 value collapse that shouldn't exist but absolutely does. These vehicles prove that the smartest money move isn't always buying new or chasing the latest trend. Sometimes it's waiting for depreciation to do its thing and swooping in like a financial vulture with actual common sense.
If this video saved you thousands of dollars, or at least made you reconsider what's possible in the used SUV market, smash that like button like it owes you money. Subscribe and hit the bell because we're dropping more market analysis, hidden deals, and automotive truth bombs every single week. Drop a comment and tell me which of these 5 you're seriously considering, or if I missed an SUV that's crashed even harder. And if you think I'm crazy for calling out the RAV4, fight me in the comments. I'll be there with facts, figures, and absolutely zero regrets. Now get out there, negotiate like your financial future depends on it, because it kind of does, and drive something that makes sense instead of something that impresses people you don't even like. I'll see you in the next one.